Hello. Welcome. My internet worked today, yay. This stream was supposed to happen on Friday night, and there was an internet outage in my area for over 4 hours, and they were never able to give me like an estimate for when the internet would come back. So I postponed the book club to today. But now we're here, and I'm kind of glad because I had a little more time to prepare, especially photos and videos, so I think it'll be a better stream today than it would have been Friday. But yeah, welcome in, welcome, whether you're here live or catching it later. I'm excited for this one. So I actually reread the book on Friday from cover to cover. Here it is. I've shown it several times on streams. But I had read it like around the time that it came out, and it was about a month ago that it came out. So it had been a minute, and so I knew the stream was coming, and I was like, well, let me try to reread it. So I reread it. Friday, it was actually good. Like, I didn't have internet, so all I could do was read. So I was able to take a lot better notes the second time around and like think about the different kind of phases of her life that she describes. And yeah, so it was a helpful refresher that I needed. But yeah, welcome. Also, let me roll the intro. All right, welcome back. Welcome back to the Miscellaneous channel, where we do miscellaneous things. I'm Zeleny. I typically cover TV, pop culture, internet trends, and other miscellaneous things on this channel, so subscribe if that's your vibe. This is kind of a pop culture kind of day, because I don't normally review books or read books, to be quite honest. As y'all know, I'm a devout TV watcher. I'm a TV person, but this year I've been trying to get more into books, and of course, Britney's book was one I was really excited for. I pre-ordered it like the day the pre-orders came out. I just had been eager to hear her side of the story, and she doesn't really do press anymore. At this point in her career, she's been through a lot of crazy stuff, so I was just excited to read this and get a better grasp of her whole career because, you know, I grew up listening to her. I'm pretty sure like many people my age, Oops, I Did It Again was like my first CD. I think my first 2 CDs were Oops, I Did It Again and Avril Lavigne's Let Go. That's kind of, I think, pretty common for especially women my age. But I followed her career. You know, I was a kid when her career was at its peak. And she was a big star like my whole childhood, but as a child I don't really get to, or I wasn't like analyzing pop star careers the way I am now as an adult. So this book is also really helpful to like map out her career, what eras what eras happened when, and like just the timeline of everything that I wasn't really following as a kid. So, but yeah, see, Stephanie in the chat, Oops was my very first CD. Exactly. I feel like it's like everyone's first CD that's around my age, which I'm how old am I? 29? I just turned 29, so I forget. But yeah, I don't expect too many people here because it's not a Love is Blind stream, which is fine. I'm used to it with my live streams, but if you're here in the chat, feel free to chime in, have a discussion. I did prepare like a slideshow and pictures, so like if you're watching this later as kind of a regular video, that works too. I have a lot of stuff. I wish more people would come to book club, sure. But it's my first time leading a book club. It's kind of a weird format for one, but yeah, this is my moment. So I kind of want to divide the discussion into parts, and sort of going from her early life to like her breakthrough in her career, then like her peak times in her career, then like her starting a family, and then the conservatorship, and then post conservatorship. I think those are kind of like the main phases that she described in the book. And there was a lot of interesting tea too in the book. A lot of it has been heavily publicized. Twitter pop culture accounts have been reporting like all the different bits of tea that had come out of the book. But it's still interesting to talk about like, I don't know, like what the bigger meaning behind some of them, like the social influences at play and things behind some of the things she went through. And also, this is not a memoir that has like photos in the middle. You know, a lot of memoirs for celebrities will have like some nice high quality photos or something. And I was really craving that when I was reading this, and so I sourced some photos because it helps to visualize the things she was talking about. Hi, Sophie. Thanks for being here. Yeah, thanks for coming to my book club, y'all. How many of us have read the book? That's fine if you haven't. Honestly, I'm going to kind of go through and recap a lot of it, or at least the parts that I found most interesting. Before we get into it, though, don't forget to subscribe to my channel. Or follow me on social media at Miscellaneous. Mostly on Instagram is where I post about new live streams. For December, I'm going to be streaming on Mondays at this time, and Fridays at this time, 8 p.m. Central. Kind of a live miss situation to feel out how live streaming more consistently feels, and hopefully that makes it so that people at least know when I'm streaming a little easier. And yeah, Stephanie makes a good point. The Woman in Me is available on Spotify Premium for free. Spotify Premium recently added a lot of audiobooks included in the membership, so that's really cool. I was kind of jealous because I have Spotify Premium and I bought the book, but it's fine. I wanted to have the book. And yeah, I don't think I've mentioned the title of the book, but it is The Woman in Me by Britney Spears. Very talked about celebrity memoir. Also, next Monday, 1 week from today, I'm going to be on live stream reviewing Spotify Wrapped. My Spotify Wrapped, but also y'all Spotify Wrapped. That's going to come out either November 30th or December 1st. It's not for sure, but it's usually around that time. So if you get a Spotify Wrapped, send it to me. You can send it via DM on my Instagram or Twitter at Miscellaneous. That'll be fun. I just want to like see what people were listening to this year. Okay, let me switch to my slideshow. Is this it? Yes. Okay. Hi. Okay, this is cool. The new slideshow setup I'm trying out. Welcome to the book club, The Woman in Me by Britney Spears. And starting with part 1, early life and career. If y'all want to chime in about anything regarding early life and career, like shout it out in the chat. But yeah, so it was interesting to hear about just kind of like her family, where she came from. I knew she was Southern and from Louisiana, and that like they were just a normal family from a really small town, not like, or didn't come from a lot of money or anything. And right from the beginning, she talks about how singing is spiritual to her, and singing is a form of escapism from like her tumultuous family life, because her dad was an alcoholic. She said there were some times where he was like successful financially and stuff and would do okay, but then he would fall back into alcoholism and disappear. And then her mom would yell at him a lot, stay up all night, keep her and her siblings up all night. And that's very stressful, obviously, for a little kid. It's pretty sad hearing about her early life, some of it. I mean, Britney is someone that has like a really positive attitude in general. So like she also mentions like the good parts of life and focuses on the positive in certain ways. But yeah, so the parts that were interesting about her early life is that just kind of this history of abuse, and trigger warning, in this book there is like talk of abuse and abortions and other heavy topics, so proceed at your own risk. But the craziest part about her early life is that her grandma, Jean, was put into an asylum after she lost an infant son of hers. This was her father's mother, and like her grandfather was abusive to her, put her in an asylum where they put her on lithium, which way later on in the conservatorship they put Britney on lithium, which is a drug that makes you very like foggy and slow and lethargic. And the grandma actually like took her own life 8 years after losing that son. So it's like really dark, and it's really sad to see this pattern of abuse of women, especially in our family. It's so creepy that it's like the same method used by her dad to control her. Pretty sad right off the bat there. And like the dad was really abusive, like her grandfather was really abusive to her dad. So Britney Spears isn't just like abusive in a vacuum. It's like this cycle. Her grandfather sounded really scary. He had like 10 children, abused many of them. He was a cop. He also sent his second wife to a mental hospital. So this is just like the way men in their family deal with women, which is really scary and gross. But yeah, that's kind of like the sad parts of her early life. The good parts, she had a really close relationship with her older brother Brian, and a decent relationship with her mom, sort of. I mean, you know, I think for the most part. So for singing, there was a good quote. Let me find the quote. This is the first time ever I have notated a book or put little tabs on it. There's not really any notes. But just on quotes that I found interesting. And it just kind of summarizes what like singing and performance was to her in artistry. So artists make things and play characters because they want an escape into faraway worlds. And escape was exactly what I needed. I wanted to live inside my dreams, my wonderful fictitious world, and never think about reality if I could help it. Singing bridged reality and fantasy, the world I was living in and the world that I desperately wanted to inhabit. So singing and performance was a way of escapism. She also mentions it as like a way to get attention from the older kids around her and like her parents. Yeah, I want to I do want to hear the audiobook. I haven't had a chance to, but I'm gonna, because Britney actually narrates the prologue, and then not the main book is narrated by Michelle Williams. But yeah, very interesting. And at a very young age, she starts competing in like talent and dance competitions. She goes to an open call for the Mickey Mouse Club. One of her first like jobs she booked or competitions is Star Search when she was really young. I don't have audio on a lot of these videos because I don't want to get stopped in the middle. If I happen to get stopped at any point, I'll just come back on live, just saying. I'm just trying to play little clips, but seeing her so young, and here she's like belting. She doesn't have like the voice yet that we know her to have in her pop star era, but she was really, really little already doing things. And then she auditioned for the Mickey Mouse Club, and she didn't get in because she was too young, but they told her to come back. Later, she did get a referral to an agent in New York, and her family and her would go back and forth to New York. And back home, she would like work at a seafood restaurant, her grandma's seafood restaurant, at 8 years old. And I'm just like, that is so young. But yeah, she was like working from such a young age, and her first job was being an understudy with Natalie Portman in an off-Broadway musical. That's why Natalie Portman's on the slide in this very grainy photo, which is so weird. Like, it's interesting. The entertainment industry is always so small when you start hearing these stories. But then she quit the off-Broadway musical because they were working on Christmas, and she did not like that. She's a little kid. It's kind of sad. But then she re-auditioned for Mickey Mouse Club and made it this time. It was like the next year. And this class is pretty famous of Mickey Mouse Club because Ryan Gosling's there, and Justin Timberlake, Kerry Russell. That's where she met Justin Timberlake, really young. She makes this time sound really fun. Like, it was in Orlando. They were running around the theme parks a lot. She and Justin were really close, and there was one point where they did kiss in like a spin the bottle game. And let me read y'all the quote because I found it awfully ironic. Another time at a sleepover, we played a game of truth or dare, and someone dared Justin to kiss me. A Janet Jackson song was playing in the background as he leaned in and kissed me. I just thought that was like an interesting detail to include, that Janet Jackson was playing in the background, given Justin Timberlake's history with both Britney and Janet. They're like the two women he has wronged, and people have like retroactively realized. So very interesting. There's a video here, and this is actually a really long episode. I haven't watched the full thing, but this is her on the Mickey Mouse Club, but also it shows kind of scenes from back home in her hometown. So it was just kind of interesting to see. She mentioned she loves playing basketball. That's what she says there. And she says it in the book too. She was never like a cheerleader in school. She liked basketball. And this is the seafood restaurant she worked at. So yeah, it was kind of helpful to have visuals. Let me see if there's more to it. I don't want to play too much because I will get in trouble. So she's dancing, doing gymnastics at a young age. This whole thing is like a whole half hour of like Britney Mickey Mouse Club stuff. Real grainy stuff. And she said this was like a boot camp. Like they did singing and lessons, acting lessons, probably PR. Um, is that Ryan? Oh my god. He's so little. This is like the meme Ryan. And Justin. Oh my god. Okay, I need to stop playing stuff. Britney does love Janet. She loves Mariah Carey. She loves Janet Jackson. I liked that, she fangirled over certain artists throughout the book. That was kind of Mickey Mouse Club. That was it. Yeah, okay. That was Mickey Mouse Club stuff. Back home, she would kind of go back and forth in this early time before her breakthrough, and I thought it was interesting that she didn't quite have like the most wholesome life in Louisiana. She like started smoking at age 13. She was like drinking with her mom around that age too, like in 8th grade. It's kind of like small town stuff to me. You just kind of do that kind of stuff earlier. I don't know. Maybe not. But she also like lost her virginity and was always kind of looking at older boys. Like her older brother had friends, and like she had a like more naughty friend too at school that was into, I don't know, just kind of getting in trouble and hanging out with older boys. So she lost her virginity to Brian's best friend, her brother's best friend, who was 17 while she was like 13, 14. And that kind of becomes important because they brand her as a virgin later when she gets into her career. She does love J-Lo, doesn't she? Later. I mean, she didn't say she loved J-Lo. She said she was really good at being famous, which I don't disagree with. Okay, so getting into part 2, A Star is Born. This is like when she's about to get famous, gets famous, and like really explodes. This is like the era where it's a lot, like fame is a lot bigger because attention wasn't so diversified, I feel like. So Britney was a huge, I mean, we know that. She started this like relationship with Miss Felicia. Like she became her guardian when she was like doing work stuff because her mom had Jamie Lynn, a young daughter back home, Jamie Lynn Spears, who we now know her, but she was a baby and she was starting to like get signed. She got a record deal at age 15, and Felicia came and lived with her, took care of her around that era in New York. And their relationship is really, really sweet. She was in that documentary, which Britney might not really approve of. Because Britney famously like doesn't like the documentaries. We'll talk about that later. But I really appreciated Felicia's input in the documentaries because I learned a lot about her, and just like they just had a really sweet, wholesome relationship. And I didn't know Felicia's in the Baby One More Time video as the mean teacher, so that was cool. And then one of my favorite parts of the book was when Britney meets Max Martin. Because I was just like, oh my god, history is being made at that one part. I'm trying to find it. So who put her in touch with Max Martin? I'm trying to see. One of the executives told me, you need to meet this producer from Sweden. He's really good. He writes cool songs. And I was like, oh my god, it's Max Martin. I was fangirling. So, and she asked, like, who has he worked with? And she was, like, impressed with herself, knowing the right question to ask. And the story was pretty funny that Max Martin flew to New York. We had a dinner meeting, just me and him, no assistants, no label people. The waiter, as we sat down, a waiter came over and said, "How may I help you?" Somehow a candle flipped over and set the whole table up in flames. We were at one of the most expensive restaurants in New York City, and our table had just become a wall of fire. From "how may I help you" to flame wall in under a second. Max and I looked at each other in horror. "We should go now, yeah?" He was magic, and we started working together. That's just such a, like, dramatic meeting. Love that. But yeah, Max Martin has made some of the best pop songs of all time. And he's working with Ariana Grande on her next album, I hear. Those are the rumors. I'm excited. Very excited. Oh, I can do that. So, meets Max Martin, starts working with him, and they create the magic of Baby One More Time. She mentioned she stayed up all night to get, like, her voice fried. To do the voice that is now the famous Britney voice. And that was obviously her big breakthrough single, debut. She debuted #1 on Billboard with, like, #1 single and #1 album. She was, like, the youngest person at the time, or some big record, and she sold 10 million albums when those came out. The video, also, she mentions, was a lot of her idea at first. They wanted a futuristic astronaut / Power Ranger concept, which I feel like is what Oops became, which was fierce too. But she pushed back and said, no, we should do this concept where we're bored at school and then we're dancing. And, a star was born. A baby was born, literally. Oh my God, there's one quote I really liked around this time when she was making Baby One More Time. And let me read it to y'all. "That's probably the moment in my life when I had the most passion for music. I was unknown, and I had nothing to lose if I messed up. There is so much freedom in being anonymous. I could look out at a crowd who'd never seen me before and think, you don't know who I am yet. It was kind of liberating that I didn't really have to care if I make mistakes." I loved that part because it's such a, like, universal artist thing, I feel like. Like, as an artist, you really want a lot of success and to be seen by a lot of people, but at the same time, you're most free at the beginning when there's no stakes in the matter. So I really appreciated hearing that about the Baby One More Time era. And it's sad because she becomes so, privacy invaded the rest of the time after she gets famous. But yeah, it's like the most passion she had was when she was most anonymous, and I think that's pretty universal. So after this, obviously, she explodes. She is everything. She mentions this photo shoot, which is pretty controversial, by David LaChapelle. This was a cover. Was it a Rolling Stone cover? I don't remember, but I think it was a magazine cover. And it was super controversial because she was kind of with the Teletubby, like, dressed like a child, and she was underage at this time. But she loved working with David LaChapelle and didn't, like, care about the controversy. So it was interesting to hear her perspective when I think most people find this kind of concept disturbing. After this, she went on tour with Justin Timberlake, and that's where trouble started because she fell for him. She fell for him hard, and they started dating. Around this time is like the famous viral quote where Justin Timberlake is calling out for genuine. And she says like NSYNC's unique attribute as a boy band was that they appreciated hip hop, but he was kind of a poser, or he's presented kind of like a poser. And Miss Felicia makes fun of him and how he is trying to look cool to Genuine. But I mean, at this point, she is really famous. She did start noticing that the treatment of Justin Timberlake was a little different than how she was treated at like talk shows and stuff. I think I have a quote. This is right after the genuine part, like a paragraph after. I had a hard time being as carefree as he seemed. I couldn't help but notice that the questions he got asked by talk show hosts were different from the ones they asked me. Everyone kept making strange comments about my breasts, wanting to know whether or not I had had plastic surgery. So it's this early, honestly, way earlier in one of the competitions she did, maybe the Star Search one or one of them, the male host asked her, like, do you have a boyfriend? When she's like a literal small child. So, you know, her being treated differently as a woman and like being sexualized at a young age happened really early on. And it's unfortunate because, yeah, Justin Timberlake really is like, and that's the point, I think, of that part, the genuine part of the book, that like the contrast of Justin Timberlake being so carefree and like just loving life, becoming famous, while she is already noticing like the double-edged sword of her being famous. If that makes sense. Also, like in the same spread, literally the genuine part is like there, and then the Mariah part is like the next page. But this is the part where Mariah Carey gives her a ring light lesson. Oh. And this was the photo with the ring light. She mentions like, oh, now we all have ring lights, but back then only Mariah Carey had a ring light in her dressing room. And she taught her about her good side and things like that. And that was just so cute. I love how much, I feel like out of anyone, Britney fangirled the most about Mariah Carey in this book. She mentions her quite a lot. So at the, and maybe it was these VMAs, or I don't know what award show that Mariah Carey was, picture was taken at, but around that time she did this performance. I think it was for the VMAs, the 2000 VMAs. And this look was heavily criticized for how sexy it was. She did like a segment where she had to like watch people react to it, and a lot of them said she was too sexy. I'm wondering if this was the that clip where she's like, for the children, that is like famous on Twitter. I don't have that clip, sorry, I forgot about it till now, but I think it might be literally that clip. Where she's just watching little girls be like, I think she should tone it down. She's a role model, and saying she's too sexy. And she obviously doesn't like that because she's just thinking of it as like her art. And this was one of my favorite quotes in the whole book. Or just her talking about like her being a teenage girl being treated as super dangerous. I was never quite sure what all these critics thought I was supposed to be doing. A Bob Dylan impression? I was a teenage girl from the South. I signed my name with a heart. I liked looking cute. Why did everyone treat me, even when I was a teenager, like I was dangerous? And I think that's one of like the deepest themes in this whole book. It's just like the way society treats teenage girls. And like, yeah, treats anything that like empowers them and their femininity as a big danger, because it's like a threat to the dominant masculine powers in the world. But yeah, like the amount of people that were just like commenting on her body, asking her about her breasts, it's like, what? And they just don't want, or they see like the success of someone like this and like the influence she has on young girls mainly, and they hate that young girls might feel like empowered to dress however they want or be however they want, to be an autonomous, independent woman. I don't know. But femininity is always treated as like such a dangerous, bad thing. It's like nowadays the war on drag. It's just like, what does femininity do to you? And I feel like this is like the root of why Britney was treated so terribly by society through her whole career, because she got famous as a teenager, and then it feels like everyone wanted to just her to remain a teenager, and like a virginal teenager at that, like a skinny virginal teenager, and that's messed up. What's next? Oh, Crossroads. She does mention she, like, in these times where she was facing backlash, she turned to religion and Prozac. She doesn't really mention Prozac later in the book at all, or like how much or for how long she was taking that. But she mentions in other parts that she never really had substance abuse problems. She also, with all the success, built a house for her mom and little sister, Jamie Lynn, and settled all her dad's debts. So she is taking care of her family at this point in time. She's probably around 17, 18. She was like at her peak. She performed at the Super Bowl, was in Forbes' most powerful celebrities, single-handedly was keeping certain tabloids in business, she says. She does mention the 2001 Slave for You performance, which is super iconic. Crap, I don't even... It's so iconic, I didn't even put it on here. Whoops. My bad. But y'all know the Slave for You performance with the python. She mentions that the snake off camera like hissed at her in her face, and she was like terrified of it. And then she filmed a movie, Crossroads, which I'm wearing the t-shirt of for the occasion. Yay, Crossroads. I only watched it just recently, and it was not the best movie I've ever seen, but it was cute, and it was aesthetic. Let's see if we can play any little part of it. Her issue was like she method acted so hard that she was struggling. Zoe Saldana's in this. Yeah. She method acted so hard. She like became the character, and she did not like that feeling because it wasn't on purpose. um, and that led her to kind of quit acting. She was in the running for The Notebook. She was like second to Rachel McAdams, basically, to play the lead. Her audition has gone viral on Twitter and stuff, or on social media. But she was like scared to act again, and didn't really have interest after Crossroads, because the character she plays in Crossroads is a very normal teenage girl. Like, she's kind of a goody two-shoes character, so it's like not that dangerous to method act. It's not that removed from the teenager she was, but for other roles, if she method acted, it could be problematic, because for this one, she's like, I would just be acting like a spoiled heiress. Or if it's something like really dark, she was scared of roles like that. She went on tour. This was the Dream Within a Dream tour. I wonder what those tours were like. I feel like I was so young. I have no idea. I've never seen a Britney Spears concert or anything, so I wonder what it was like to see her at like her most youthful and like most energy probably in these days. And at this time, she was dating Justin Timberlake. They had a house together in Orlando and would try to like spend a lot of time together. She thought to do the Denim on Denim, and she was kind of kidding about it, but then he took it serious, and all the stylists took it serious, and they were like, okay, I guess we're doing this now. Let me see what quotes I even had for this part. Oh, that was just the... What did I drop? Oh, I dropped my Switch game. Okay, I don't have quotes left for this section. It'll be the next section. But she does mention that, like, Justin Timberlake cheated on her multiple times. One, she's like, refuses to say who the woman was because she's married and has kids now and is famous. And I'm just like, oh my God, I want to know. Do y'all know? Are there any rumors about who it is? She just says she's married with kids now. There's no other really, I'm trying to think, no other details about the mystery woman he hooked up with. But not just her, like other dancers, groupies. He cheated multiple times. But she kind of turned a blind eye because she was very in love, she claims. And Britney did cheat once with this guy. I was trying to find pictures and I was like, oh, what? This guy? He was her choreographer, Wade Robson. Wade Robson? Yes. The hair kind of killed me. Pretty funny. But she cheated with him, but she fessed up to it to Justin, and they worked through it. I mean, if he was doing the same, it wasn't too big a deal. But this is like the affair Justin's referring to in the Cry Me a River song and music video, because he framed his whole next album about like, oh, heartbreak, and she cheated on me, and frames himself as innocent. He doesn't like say, but I cheated too, or anything, obviously. So this was like the one time that she cheated. And this was the part, it got dark because, wait, what's next? She did end up getting pregnant with Justin Timberlake's baby and having an abortion. It was solely Justin Timberlake's choice to have the abortion. And she definitely regrets that they kept it secret, meaning they did not go to a hospital or a doctor to do it. They did it via pill, and the way it's described in the book, it was excruciatingly painful, very difficult for her. And it's sad because Britney has always been very motherly and like desiring family life. She comes from like just a town like that where people have a lot of family around and stuff, so it makes sense to me. And she did not want the abortion, but respected that he wanted it. And also, Justin Timberlake like serenaded her while she was in extreme pain from while it was happening, and it was just like, why, why this? Why was this the choice right now? So that was sad. And this is the Every Time, or this is a still from the Every Time music video, which was like her response song to Justin Timberlake's Cry Me a River stuff. And no one like thought about this scene as anything, or it's only recently that people haven't reinterpreted the video as being a subtle reference to the abortion. And actually in that Diane Sawyer interview that like was super brutal to her, Diane Sawyer asked her like, who is that song really about? Because everyone just wanted to hear that Every Time was about Justin Timberlake. And she kind of has this like sly smile, and she's like, I trust the song to speak for itself. And in hindsight, it's like, oh my God, only she knew. Only her, Justin, and Miss Felicia knew about the abortion, like in the whole world. So, yeah, that's kind of wild. And like, I just can imagine back then, this news would have like broken society for like at least a couple weeks, because they were like the it couple of the time, both at like the height of their fame. Mostly her. I mean, him too, but her. And an abortion, like, that's controversial. So that would have been like insane if that was like leaked, or, you know, if anyone caught wind of that. But at her expense, they made it so no one found out. So moving into part 3, starts getting a little sadder. This is like the heartbreak and patriarchy section. I mean, she still has a lot of high highs in her career in this era, but she starts really struggling with a lot of different things. First of all, Justin Timberlake broke up with her via text on the set of the Overprotected music video, and she slayed that choreography. It was almost as a like just diss to him to slay it, but the looks are everything in that video. I love that song, but what, he's so fucked up. And she mentions he had become really distant working on his album, and like it was because he was like forming the whole album concept around like dissing her, and basically using the breakup to elevate his like debut solo album. Ugh. And she, from the breakup, went into like a deep depression, and he's over here saying like, cry me a river, whatever, when really she was the one that was really depressed, is what she says. Like, she says, she like straight up exposes him and is like, he slept with 6 or 7 women right after the breakup that I know of. So he was doing fine post-breakup, basically. She went home during some of this depression time, and she noticed back home that Jamie Lynn was becoming like a spoiled brat, basically, in the new house, like big nice house she got her mom. She would just watch TV and her mom would serve her. And it was at this point that Britney sort of realized life had passed her by back in Louisiana, back home. And I feel like many young adults feel this. I mean, her to like a huge degree. But I feel like there's a certain point where you go back to a hometown if you ended up moving away. And you're like, wow, it's changed. It's not the place I recognize anymore. So it's kind of like that, but magnified because she bought them the new house. She was really close with Jamie Lynn when she was a baby. And now she was kind of like spoiled brat. Is this a part? It might be the part. Where's the quote? Oh, yeah, I have the quote. It was just funny that she made the reference, but that's how we all were with Jamie Lynn. You see it, you like it, you want it, you got it. As far as I could tell, her world was the Ariana Grande song, 7 Rings, come to life. It was just funny to do an Ariana Grande reference. And yeah, that's how she describes Jamie Lynn's. So in the press, Justin Timberlake was like, you know, promoting the single music video album, dissing her. Apparently, she mentions that she was getting booed wherever she would go, and she was like getting really shamed for the whole thing. She did do this like trip with Donatella Versace and wore this dress. I just thought the dress was fierce. She talks about Donatella Versace being like really cool to her. Donatella is always like hip with who's like the cool artist of the moment. I know that's kind of obvious, but like she's just always on the scene when there's like a new it girl. Like she is there dressing her. Okay, so Cry Me a River. That's what we were doing. That's what we were talking about. He had this look-alike in the music video, if you're not aware, of Britney, and he's like walking around in the rain, looking all sad. And in this song, he implies she cheated, or maybe it's a different song on the album. But the whole narrative was that she cheated. He's the victim. He's America's golden boy. And he was like doing press about all this while she was like depressed back home, literally not doing anything. And one thing I found really interesting was that Justin Timberlake outed Britney on like Ryan Seacrest's show or on the radio somewhere. He outed her as not a virgin, that they had sexual relations. And when I had seen this part in like the documentaries I'd seen, I was like, that's so slimy. And it is, of him to like talk about and expose. But I didn't realize they like lived together for 2 years, which I feel like makes the outing of this not as like groundbreaking, because if they were living together, you know, it's kind of obvious. He shouldn't be talking about their sex lives. But I didn't realize it was so implied that, you know, she lived with her boyfriend. It's more obvious. And then in the book, she actually like appreciated that he exposed that about her, because she didn't like that her label and everyone was pushing her to be a virginal image. And she found it awkward to like figure out how to tell the world herself. So that was kind of like almost like a favor Justin did to her. I just thought that was interesting, because I would think she'd be mad that he's discussing their intimate details. But since she was being forced to play into this narrative by her label, she was kind of like, good, I'm glad he exposed that. Here's the actual quote. I did note it. Justin told everyone that he and I had had a sexual relationship, which some people have pointed out depicted me as not only a cheating slut, but also a liar and a hypocrite. Given that I had so many teenage fans, my managers and press people had long tried to portray me as an eternal virgin. Never mind that Justin and I had been living together and I'd been having sex since I was 14. Was I mad at being outed by him as sexually active? No. To be honest with you, I like that Justin said that. Why did my managers work so hard to claim I was some kind of young girl virgin even into my 20s? Whose business was it if I'd had sex or not? That's like the right answer, and it gave me more perspective. Or it's just more nuance to kind of the whole situation that I just hadn't thought about. I don't know. It's just interesting. Some of the things in the book were like opposite reactions than I'd expect, and it really made me think. She also briefly dated Colin Farrell and said that was lovely. I think this is the premiere. She said she wore a pajama top, and she like is embarrassed or cringes at it now. But like, I think it doesn't look bad for the time. Like those low-rise jeans, that's fierce. Or pants, sorry, not jeans. Leather pants, it looks like. I expected it to be more like a collar button-down satin pajama top, what she described it. It sucks that it had to come from him, but good that she could shed that image. Yeah, Justin being obnoxious kind of gave her an out. So that's one good thing at least came out of it. So yeah, in this post-breakup time, she was kind of betrayed that Justin and Christina talked about her a bit. They didn't like shit talk her, I don't think, but she seems to really not like, in general, like anyone talking about her. Whether it's good, bad, or neutral, without letting her know. It's kind of like a recurring theme with her. And they mention like, I forget what I don't think I notated what they said about her, but it wasn't like negative, I don't think. But I was more interested because she mentions this cover and describes it in the book, and I was just wanting to see what the cover looked like of Justin and Christina. She did meet Madonna, and I found those parts really interesting. It seems like Madonna really helped her find her confidence, and I mean, Madonna was the queen of pop, and Britney was the princess of pop. So there's a lot that Madonna showed her, and there was this time where Britney was living in New York, and it sounds really like romantic, but also sad because she's living in this beautiful penthouse. It's like 3 stories. And Madonna came over, met with her, mentored her, and she was just a really good influence because she talks about the Me Against the Music collab, and Madonna had some sort of wardrobe malfunction, and they like halted production for Madonna, and Britney was just like so like impressed, maybe like I kind of got the vibe in the book. She was maybe a little annoyed in the moment, but then learned a big lesson about like, oh, as the star talent here, you can demand time to like fix your shit. And she says like if she had a wardrobe malfunction, she would like immediately just work through it or patch it up immediately to like not make anyone wait for her or anything. But working with Madonna showed her like, no, you're the talent. You need to demand what you deserve. And that was a really important lesson. And this VMA's performance was super iconic. She did the kiss with Madonna. they had like air kissed in all the rehearsals, but in the real one they actually went for it and they made a whole moment, and that's still one of the most epic moments ever. Christina and Justin were horrible to her. They bullied her at an event comparing Britney to a blow-up doll. Do you know what event that was? I believe it. I mean, in the book, she's actually really nice to Christina, which is like, I thought was really nice because, yeah, they were pitted against each other from the beginning, and Britney was like the original, I think, and Christina, I think, was, I mean, literally every label when Britney was coming up was trying to make their own Britney. Like, Jessica Simpson was like a Britney. Who else? Help me think of more. But everyone was like literally just trying to, and it happens literally always in pop culture where there's like one huge thing, huge star, then you see a lot of little like variations of the person. Like, I feel like right now there's so many people that are coming up that sound a lot like Taylor Swift. Like, they're trying to like just capture a bit of that fandom, and it's just typical in pop culture. But Britney was like the blueprint, and even like anti-Britney became a blueprint, like the Avrils and the pink and that vibe where it's like, oh, we're anti-Britney, we're anti-girly and feminine, which did not age the best. But yeah, I imagine there was always jealousy from Christina's side, just being one of those people. Probably her label was always like, how can you be more like this, the video Britney did, or this thing Britney did? And yeah, and Justin, yeah, was, you know, awful to her in many ways. It's funny that Christina was also technically part of that performance, and we barely remember she wasn't mentioned. Yeah, Christina's literally like, oh, y'all see my mouse? Like, over here in all the performances. And I think she kissed her too. Like, she kissed Britney, then turned over and kissed Christina. But stupid Justin Timberlake, the VMAs were too busy catching his reaction. Woohoo. That's definitely what we want to see, instead of the kiss with Christina. So Justin screwed over everybody, even Christina. I think that's what it was, that they like cut to Justin immediately after the kiss. This is the Me Against the Music video where she like was on Madonna's time and learned the lesson. And then we get to the sad kind of turning point of her career. And I don't know if like at the time everyone realized this was a turning point for Britney, but in the book she mentions this was her breaking point, and it was this interview with Diane Sawyer. Did I put audio? This might have audio.
You broke his heart. You did something that caused him so much pain, so much suffering. What did you do?
I was upset.
She just says, I was upset. I don't want to play too much because then I will get kicked off here. But Diane Sawyer is just brutal. And it's just like saying Justin Timberlake's so innocent. Like, what did you do to him? Like, when she was like in a deep depression from a breakup text from him and having to work through it. It's just like, ugh. Like, I can't believe people love Justin Timberlake so much, but I guess I kind of can, because it's only recently that I feel like people have fallen out of love with him a bit. But yeah, it's just so gross. And Diane Sawyer was like awful to her. This is a long ass interview, and she was also not like prepped. She talks about how that interview came about, and she wasn't like prepped for it, about what any of the questions would have been. It was like in her house. And it's just like, why? I mean, I guess Diane Sawyer is just trying to get like the sound bites that everyone wanted from Britney, like a gotcha moment or many gotcha moments. And people just didn't respect her at all because of the nature of her art form and being a young woman, literally just because of that. So this is just a brutal, brutal interview. I watched some parts, and I don't want to play them, but it's messed up. And she just said that was sad. Like, it just felt like a turning point, breaking point for her. Did you say? Yeah. I have the quote. I have the quote. Yay. I'm so shocked. I'm so prepared. Let me go back on this. The interview was a breaking point for me internally. A switch had been flipped. I felt something dark come over my body. I felt myself turning, almost like a werewolf, into a bad person. I honestly feel like that moment in my life should have been a time for growing and not sharing everything with the world. It would have been the better way to heal. But I had no choice. It seemed like nobody really cared how I felt. It's so messed up. Every interview I see of her is just so sad. Some of these are from Reddit, and I kept the credit just for credit's sake because they put a nice collage together. So after this, she did like a New Year's Las Vegas trip and partied with Paris. I'm not exactly sure if this is the exact night. She said they were just running around, having a lot of fun. But no, yeah, the timing actually sounds right. 2004. And she was just like annoyed by her family, and she's like, wait, I have a lot of money. I can go to Vegas for New Year's. And she had a lot of fun with Paris Hilton. She really talks highly of Paris Hilton. I think she's kind of a problematic figure, but, you know, to Britney, she talks very highly of her. She was always very supportive, it sounds like. And let her just let loose and have fun. She did, like, get married in Vegas, like, really quickly. I don't have photos of that. She got married to, like, one of her dancers or something, and it was just, like, a quickie thing, but literally the next day, her parents flew in and swooped in and were like, we must get this annulled, and, like, really reprimanded her. And she keeps talking about, like, she was just not allowed to have any fun. And she was just always working. And she felt like she had earned, like, some partying privileges. Yet her parents were really against it and would come and, like, intervene and whatever. And, like, her parents were so mad about this quickie wedding in Vegas. She credits it as, like, she kind of realized, oh, maybe I do want to get real married and settle down. So kind of the parents, like, overprotecting her, like, made her want it more or something. That's kind of what it sounded like in the book. So moving into part 4, where she really starts seriously thinking about starting a family. And she meets Kevin Federline, which... reading this book, learning about K-Fed was so rough. I did not want to know this much about him. She met him at a club, and she mentioned he would, like, hold her in a pool, and she just really liked that. But he neglected to mention he had a child and a pregnant ex-girlfriend or wife, I think girlfriend. like when they were meeting and stuff, which is just like, oh, it's just, everyone thought they were a bad idea. And in this case, I gotta say, they were right, obviously. Like, her parents didn't approve of him. No one approved of him. But, you know, I don't blame her. She was really just trying to, like, I don't have fun and I don't know, live her life. And everyone is already trying to control her. They got married in the fall of 2004. Pretty quick, honestly. And they went on tour together. Or she went on tour and brought him with her. And they made, like, basically vlogs, which weren't called vlogs back then, while they were on tour. And then it was aired as a reality show called Britney and Kevin Chaotic, which I don't think I knew about. I feel like I knew about the Nick and Jessica one. Nick and Jessica? Yeah. Where she's like talking about chicken. What is the one thing about the chicken with that one? But they had one of these too, and it was on UPN, which had Top Model, which I love that. But a lot of it's on YouTube. I thought the intro was pretty funny. Can't really play the music, but it says, like, cinematography by them. Oh, I hope I don't get flagged. No, I mean, without audio, maybe I won't. But it's super raw footage. So I definitely want to go back and watch some of this. This is TRL. Oh my god. She was a regular on TRL. I mean, they named the show Chaotic, which I think was correct. But I definitely want to go back and watch some of that. Even though, you know, K-Vid is heavily featured. And then after this marriage, she and this tour, she made a blog post talking about that she wanted to take a break and start saying no to stuff. I kind of get the vibe that this blog post was like where her parents started being like, uh-oh, the cash cow wants a break. And that's pretty sad. And she got pregnant pretty fast. She always wanted to be a mom. She mentions in her pregnancy, she was really mean. I appreciated, like, just the self-awareness in general about our pregnant era. And it was crazy because she was pregnant basically for 2 years straight with 2 kids. She has two kids still to this day, 2 boys. But they were back to back. So basically she was pregnant for like 2 whole years. And she mentions the Alexa Nicholas incident from Zoe 101. She does it pretty subtly. And that incident was like basically when Jamie Lynn Spears was filming Zoe 101. She had a co-star she didn't like named Alexa Nicholas. She played Nicole on the show. And like Jamie Lynn told Britney, like, this girl is bullying me. So Britney went and yelled at Alexa Nicholas, like, in her trailer. And Alexa was just like freaking out and has since like talked about it and has said like, oh, you know, it was the other way around. Jamie Lynn didn't like me. And Jamie Lynn was the bully, which I much believe Jamie Lynn would be inclined to be a bully on set than someone like Alexa Nicholas, just because Jamie Lynn Spears is described as very spoiled, many years before that even happened, by Britney. And already has, like, the famous sister, you know, probably feels self-important on that set, compared to Alexa Nicholas, who was just, like, an unknown child actor. That's just the vibe. That just makes more sense to me. Because all of this is just, like, she said kind of stuff. But, you know, I think it seems like Alexa's innocent, and Britney apologizes. She has apologized, like, on social media and stuff to Alexa Nicholas. But she, like, apologized in the book, like, to that girl, I'm so sorry. And, like, describes the incident. I saw Alexa Nicholas was posting about it when it happened too, and was excited that she got acknowledged and apologized to so formally. So, like, as has one baby, like, literally on her arm all the time, and is pregnant with the second baby, K-Fed starts being really distant because he's working on his album, which, one of the best parts of the book is where she's like, he thought he was a real rapper, bless his heart. Let me find the actual quote. Oh, I'm on it. He really thought he was a rapper now. Bless his heart, because he did take it so seriously. That's code for fuck you in the South. It was just that was so funny. So K-Fed's working on his album, you know, taking himself so serious, just smoking weed in the studio a lot. And he, like, poached people from her own team, and she would try to, like, go visit the set while she was pregnant with their second baby, and they wouldn't let her in and stuff like that, which is so fucked up. Like, K-Fed's literally on her dime, pretending like he's a talented rapper. There's the album. And it's pretty messed up. I also found this picture, and I was, like, grossed out. It's obviously, like, a styled shoot. It reminds me kind of the Barbie movie and the Barbies and Kens, when it's, like, the Ken world. But then I found this picture, which is, like, the roles reversed. So, okay, I guess. But also, what? So I guess I'm not as mad about it as I was originally. There's one quote I do want to read that I thought was interesting about being famous. It's actually the J-Lo part that we mentioned earlier. But I loved this part. But fame, that world isn't real, my friends. It's not real. You go along with it because, of course, it's going to pay the family's bills and everything. But for me, there was an essence of real life missing from it. I think that's why I had my babies. I just think it's interesting to hear about fame from someone at this level, because I think most people can agree, like, Britney Spears' fame level and anyone, like, around that A-list status isn't, like, totally desirable. It sounds kind of like a difficult life. As Lady Gaga once tweeted, fame is prison. But yeah, like, at this level, it just sounds kind of miserable that you can't, like, do anything or go anywhere without getting just ambushed by a bunch of men with cameras. Here's the J-Lo part. I actually envy the people who know how to make fame work for them, because I hide from it. I get very shy. For example, Jennifer Lopez, from the beginning, struck me as someone who is very good at being famous, at indulging people's interest in her, but knowing where to draw lines. She always handled herself well. She always carried herself with dignity. I kind of agree. It's something I hadn't thought about with J-Lo, because people fixate a lot on, like, maybe she's not the best singer of all time or the best actress of all time, but, like, she is kind of really good at being famous. And she's really good at preserving youth. Like, she cracked the code on that one. I like her rom-com, so I'll give her that. I feel like I never thought about it like, oh, she's good at being famous and handling fame. I think she is, actually. So once her second baby was born, she mentioned she got better at hiding him from the paparazzi, and people felt so entitled to getting photos of him. I have a video. She talks about this moment in detail in the book where she's carrying her baby, she's pregnant, and she's holding a cup, and there's some confusion about where to get in the car. And she like almost falls. Everyone's like ambushing her. Let's just watch it. That was the part. Like, she mentions like there's all this confusion. You don't see earlier in the video, she's like goes to one side of the car and they're like, no, go over here, and she's like, oh, okay. And then she meant, oh, that's why I had left the audio on. Where, crap.
Come on, guys. Come on. You guys give room, please. Give some room, please. Room. Make room.
So she says, this is why I need a gun. That's why. I was like, why did I leave the sound on? That's why. Like, let me see if I... No, I don't have that quote. But she just described that moment, and it was interesting to, like, see it play out. She talks about, like, oh, this was the time that everyone was, like, hurling the unfit mother allegations left and right, and, like, just criticizing her parenting constantly. Yet, you know, she breaks a heel, is being swarmed by paparazzis. There's confusion about where to go, and she does not drop the baby. The baby's unfazed. The cup of water is intact. She's pregnant. Like, all these things are going on at once. And it's just insane, like, the standard she was held to. And she also talks about, like, you know, I didn't have time to fix my hair, like, look good. She talks about she's not great at dressing herself and things like that, and therefore they always caught her looking, like, disheveled, and they loved getting photos of her, doing anything, but anything to make her look bad, especially. After having her babies, she worked on her album Blackout, which is one of her most popular. I mean, she felt really good creatively and artistically. It's one of her best, for sure. And we'll talk about the Holy Trinity in a sec. And K-Fed just grew more and more distant. He, like, refused to see her, like, at all at certain points. And eventually he tricked her into filing for divorce first. Basically, he was like, I want a divorce, but you should file first because XYZ. Like, basically, just tricked her, like, oh, it's going to be so embarrassing for you if I file for divorce first. That's what K-Fed was saying. So that you don't get humiliated in front of everybody, you file for divorce. But then she didn't realize that meant she would have to pay all his legal fees, which is just, like, the beginning of people, like, completely taking advantage of her, and her just, like, not knowing about this legal stuff and taking very much advantage of that. There's a quote about that here that kind of ties in all these men being dicks. That's the thing about this industry. I never knew how to play the game. I didn't know how to present myself on any level. I was a bad dresser. Hell, I'm still a bad dresser, and I'll admit to that. And I work on that. I try. But as much as I'll own my flaws, ultimately, I know that I am a good person. I can see now that you have to be smart enough, vicious enough, deliberate enough to play the game. And I did not know the game. I was truly innocent, just clueless. I was a newly single mom of 2 little boys. I didn't have the time to fix my hair before I went out into a sea of photographers. So I was young and I made a lot of mistakes, but I will say this. I wasn't manipulative. I was just stupid. That's one thing Justin and Kevin ruined about me. I used to trust people, but after the breakup with Justin and then my divorce, I never really did trust people again. That's just so sad. K-Fed, ugh. Like, a lot of the attention has been on Justin Timberlake on socials, but K-Fed deserves it just as much, I feel like. He sounds so shitty. And just, like, making an album with her money, like, ugh, gross. So, around this time, she had this party phase, the holy trinity of, pop culture or whatever, partying, 2000s partying was taken here. She says in the book that the party phase was more mild than the press made it seem. She didn't struggle with alcoholism. She admits she liked Adderall as an antidepressant, and that was the one substance she would take. There was one night where she had a really bad fight with her mom after a night of partying. She says she had lined up childcare, like her mom was taking care of the kids. And she felt like she had earned the right to, like, party responsibly. She felt like she was doing it responsibly, like they were just drinking this night, or she says she was. And then the custody stuff starts, and K-Fed is, like, dragging her in the media with the partying stuff and whatever, and would withhold the kids from her. Her beloved aunt Sandra passed away in January of 2007 as well. And this led to the infamous hair shaving night. Hold on. I got the quote. Maybe. And honestly, the hair shaving night is so interesting in hindsight because literally, like, she's just buzzing her hair. Like, people do this, like, in life for whatever reason. For wanting a change, for going through a breakup, for liking the look, for charity. Like, this is not unhinged behavior, but because she had always maintained, like, a pretty facade and, like, her art was her looking pretty, this was, like, unhinged, chaotic behavior. I don't know. It's just so weird. Like, oh, here's the quote. Let me read the quote. Because the quote sums it up pretty well. Shaving my head was a way of saying to the world, fuck you. You want me to be pretty for you? Fuck you. You want me to be good for you? Fuck you. You want me to be your dream girl? Fuck you. I'd been the good girl for years. I'd smiled politely while TV show hosts leered at my breasts, while American parents said I was destroying their children by wearing a crop top, while executives patted my hand condescendingly and second-guessed my career choices, even though I'd sold millions of records, while my family acted like I was evil, and I was tired of it. Like, this sums up very reasonably why someone would choose to shave their head in front of cameras, especially, like, the way she was being followed constantly, scrutinized, like, her parenting was scrutinized. They were always trying to catch her looking ugly, looking whatever. It makes sense. Like, it's not even, like, an unhinged reaction to cut all your hair. Maybe, like, I could imagine maybe she's thinking, like, maybe they'll leave me alone now if I'm, like, ugly, bald, whatever. Like, that's fair. Like, she wants to be left alone. And, like, people really weaponize her children, like, the people in her life. And that's, like, one of the saddest things about her whole story. That night, with the hair shaving, she was trying to see her kids and was denied, like at Kevin's house. And she was just like, had all this grief. Her aunt passed away that same year. It was like a couple months before. So, I don't know. It seems like a reasonable reaction. I think in hindsight now, people see that and all, but it's just wild that people reacted like she killed somebody. Let's see. So then there was also the umbrella incident, which was like a similar time frame. I mean, she's bald. She hit a car with an umbrella because she was fed up with everyone talking to her. It was another night she was trying to see her kids and denied. She says she sent an apology to the photo agency that she hit with the umbrella. And she does mention that one documentary where one of the paparazzi guys said, like, it was a horrible night for Britney, but we got the money shot, which is just really twisted. I mean, it was twisted back when I was watching the documentary. It was still very twisted. So she was in this custody battle with K-Fed, and her people management thought, or somebody, sorry, I forgot who, thought maybe going to rehab will help her get custody, even though she said she didn't have substance abuse problems. She also did this, the Gimme More performance, which is known as like a not great performance for Britney. And this is that night, this photo. People like were saying really vicious things about her weight in this photo, which is just insane when I look at photos of it because, you know, she's skinny. I don't know, in my opinion. But, like, whatever. She had just had 2 kids, been pregnant for 2 years. This was, like, her comeback performance. And she was torn apart. She does acknowledge it's not her best performance. All performers have bad nights, and that was a bad night for her. She had a tight wig. Shit was going wrong backstage with different things about it. So she acknowledges that it's not a great performance, but a lot of the actual criticism was literally about her body. And specifically, I remember the Perez Hilton. This was like a huge moment for the Perez Hilton blog, and he called her fat. I don't have a quote for that. She also, okay, so there was this moment, and this was like really the point where things really spiraled for her. She had her kids at her house, and she had to give them back to K-Fed, like put them in a car to go to K-Fed's house. And she like held, she realized like this, I might not get to see them again. And she panicked and like took one of her kids in the bathroom and like locked the door and just wanted to spend more time. And she had someone there, like her assistant or somebody that was like, you can have a little more time, you have a little more time. And before she knew it, like a whole SWAT team had come in, broke down the door to get the kid. They strapped her to a gurney, and, like, they basically 5150'd her, I think, which is when they, like, forcibly take you to a mental hospital. And I feel like this incident was the main, like, thing they used to, like, start the conservatorship conversation. I mean, that's not, I don't think that's stated in the book or anything, but, like, I'm just assuming, like, that was the thing that made, like, her dad, Lou Taylor, people that started making the conservatorship think, like, oh, we could use this incident against her and say she needs a conservator. She's really detached from her parents at this point, and, like, I just put this photo in because she mentioned she found out about Jamie Lynn's pregnancy through the tabloid, which I remember this exact tabloid. I was a big fan of Zoe 101, and I was like, excuse me, what? What's going to happen to my favorite show? Canceled is what happened. So she was dating, like, a paparazzi at the time. She was, like, his mistress. She was dating a paparazzi guy, but he was married, and she was the mistress. And she was having a lot of fun with him, but not doing anything illegal, she says. She's not really specific about, like, what fun she was doing, but she mentioned she was, like, she's weird. She's weird now. Jughead, I'm a weirdo, like, and she is, and she talks about being weird in the book, and I'm like, I see it, and I get it. I see it for her, and appreciate she owns being weird. But anyway, the sad thing is, so her mom lures her to, like, a beach house, and she gets swarmed by a SWAT team again, and this is where, like, her dad and Lou Taylor, like, present the conservatorship, and they set up this conservatorship of the person and conservatorship of the estate. Two kinds of conservatorships. They impose it on her. And the super shady thing, all things found out in retrospect, obviously, is that, like, her dad owed Lou Taylor money. It was just really shady because her mom lured her where she needed to be to get taken away. And then her dad and Lou Taylor just took over her life. Here's part of that in the book. I am convinced that it was all planned and that my dad and my mom and Lou Taylor were all involved. TriStar, that's Lou Taylor's company. TriStar was even planning to be my co-conservator. Later, I learned that at the time they put me into the conservatorship on the heels of his bankruptcy, my dad had been financially indebted to Lou, owing her at least $40,000. A lot for him, especially back then. That is what my new lawyer, Matthew Rosengart, later called a conflict of interest in court. Soon after I was brought to the hospital against my will, I was informed that the conservatorship papers had been filed. Oh, that's so sad. So sad, so sad. Like, everyone close to her. It was just crazy. She was just treated like a cash cow. Like, completely. Just like an object to make money. I saw on the subreddit, maybe it was even today, someone mentioned it, like, labor trafficking of her as a term. I hadn't heard that term before to describe this, but yeah, basically she was put under this conservatorship, like, through a bunch of loopholes and forced to just work and make everyone rich, and no one else in her family literally had to work. This is her dad, Jamie Spears, Lou Taylor. Jamie Spears, Lou Taylor. And she was super betrayed that during this time, like right after she got put in the conservatorship, her mom was, like, writing a tell-all and promoting it. And Britney was just seeing her, like, promoting it, doing press, as if she's not going through, like, the worst time in her life. She, like, got her boyfriend taken, like, the paparazzi guy got, you know, thrown to the curb. She got her car taken away. Also, like, at the same time, she was, like, shooting How I Met Your Mother. She went on tour soon after. So a conservatorship is supposed to be for, like, literally people that can't take care of their person or their finances, like, mentally incapable. But she was, like, all of these 13 years or however long it was, Britney was working and doing jobs that are hard. They take a lot of mental capacity, remembering choreography, singing, acting, talking on TV, like, all these things. And there was this really chilling part where, like, her dad sits her down and is like, I'm Britney Spears now. And I was like, ooh. That was scary. That, if they make a film adaptation, that's going to be a key line in the movie. Or a TV adaptation. I keep thinking about, like, who would play Britney? Millie Bobby Brown? Can she dance? I don't know. It's hard to play Britney because she's so iconic, you know? So in this conservatorship, they also, like, gave her a court-appointed lawyer that was no help. The book doesn't really go into too many details about the conservatorship. I definitely found the documentaries and YouTube deep dives I watched before more informative. I mean, they just went into the details of, like, the issues with the conservatorship and how she was, like there was a lot of corruption going on. Like, it seems like the judge was corrupted and, like, the court-appointed lawyer was shady. And she didn't know she could hire her own lawyer. And for many years, like, all the years, they told her, like, you can't get your own lawyer. But it was just a lie. She could. That's, like, a basic right. But legal stuff is so confusing. Like, it really is. And she talks about, like, she also, like, wanted to play along because these people were all weaponizing her kids, obviously. Wait, sorry, am I? Oh, see? She was on How I Met Your Mother. She was under conservatorship. Went on the circus tour under conservatorship. But she made sure to, like, play along at first because they were always taunting her and teasing her with, like, you can spend an extra hour with your kids. You know, you can maybe get a chance at custody with if you do this thing. And they just used that threat for every single thing they wanted her to do. There's one quote here that's really sad and summarizes it. My freedom in exchange for naps with my children. It was a trade I was willing to make. There is nothing I love more, nothing more important to me on this earth than my children. I'd lay down my life for them. So I thought, why not my freedom? It's heartbreaking. One of the most heartbreaking quotes. Like, they just knew she loved her kids and used that. And it's tragic. So she played along a lot at first. She does mention some parts about rebellion, and she had some interesting thoughts on rebellion. And also, like, how it compares between men and women traditionally. Other people, and by other people, I mean men, were afforded that freedom. Male rockers were rolling in late to award shows, and we thought it made them cooler. Male pop stars were sleeping with lots of women, and that was awesome. Kevin was leaving me alone with 2 babies when he wanted to go smoke pot and record a rap song, popozão, slang for big ass in Portuguese. Then he took them away from me, and he had Details magazine calling him Dad of the Year. A paparazzo who stalked and tormented me for months sued me for $230,000 for running over his foot with my car when I was trying to escape. We settled, and I had to give him a lot of money. When Justin cheated on me, then acted sexy, it was seen as cute. But when I wore a sparkly bodysuit, I had Diane Sawyer making me cry on national television. MTV making me listen to people criticizing my costumes, and a governor's wife saying she wanted to shoot me. It's just like she was seeing all these male counterparts of her just be treated like their rebellion was interesting or cool or sexy, whatever. And anything she did, even when it was harmless, was heavily torn down. And like her previous album that she made in her big party phase where she needed all this rehab won a bunch of awards, like the year she got in the conservatorship in 2008. It's like one of the best albums of her career, or if not the best. That's what she seems to think as well. So in the slide, she is a judge on X Factor. She mentions that was like really difficult. She didn't like being on TV. It sounded like really long hours, like 12-hour filming days. And yeah, she was just kind of self-conscious. But I don't blame her, like, after all she'd been through. Like, also, I forgot Demi Lovato was there. Like, who remembered that? I don't remember that. I didn't watch the season, honestly. Or any season. Sorry. She did date. She mentions, like, the dating rituals or dating protocols they had during the conservatorship were insane. Like, they would tell each man she would date, like, her whole sexual history and, like, all this crazy stuff. Like, it's crazy. But she dated Jason Treywick, who was an agent, but then he became, like, a co-conservator at some point after they got married, and she kind of fell out of love, understandably. She talks about making one good song during this era, and that's Work Bitch, that's a good song. That's true. She also started a Vegas residency. Like, why does she need a conservator? She has a long-running, successful Vegas residency. She did like it at first, but then it got really monotonous because they wouldn't let her change anything after doing it like a million times. Not even like one new song, one new dance, nothing. She also dated a guy that was really into supplements. And like, her dad caught her with the supplements and kept, like, trying to send her to rehab for that. And they were, like, over-the-counter, like, vitamins and stuff, allegedly. So that was really weird and confusing. And it's just, like, the dad would use any excuse to punish her. And he would send her to rehabs and AA meetings. And I feel like it was all just to, like, show she has problems, show she has substance problems, alcohol problems on paper, like, because she went to rehab, because she went to AA. That proves, in case someone questions the conservatorship, that she needs it. She does have problems. When it's him making the orders for her to go to these things, and just saying, like, if you go to this, I'll let you see your kids, and stuff like that. That's really twisted. She does kind of, like, obviously, like, get discouraged and doesn't have the spirit to fight. Here's a quote that is mentions, like, the titular phrase. The woman in me was pushed down for a long time. They wanted me to be wild on stage, the way they told me to be, and to be a robot the rest of the time. I felt like I was being deprived of those good secrets of life, those fundamental supposed sins of indulgence and adventure that make us human. They wanted to take away that specialness and keep everything as rote as possible. It was death to my creativity as an artist. So that's when she mentions, like, the one good song out of this time period in her life was Work Bitch with will.i.am. And also her dad was, like, the worst about policing her body and criticizing it, and also putting her on, like, really intense, horrible diets. And the whole world really felt really entitled to her body. Do I have more pictures here? Oh, that was the Vegas residency. There's Work Bitch. The irony of, like, Work Bitch being about working for what you need and, like, or for what you want in life, when, like, her whole family was just freeloading off of her. Okay, here's a quote about her body being scrutinized. It was always incredible to me that so many people felt so comfortable talking about my body. It had started when I was young. Whether it was strangers in the media or within my own family, people seemed to experience my body as a public property, something they could police, control, criticize, or use as a weapon. My body was strong enough to carry 2 children and agile enough to execute every choreographed move perfectly on stage. And now here I was, having every calorie recorded, so people could continue to get rich off my body. That's so sad. Every quote, I'm like, it's so sad, because it is. She did try to get out of the conservatorship in 2014, but the judge didn't listen. She was kind of inspired, though, to fight. Like, she talks about some of the positives in her life around this time. She was teaching kids at a dance studio. She was really inspired making the Glory album. She met her most recent partner, Sam Asghari, I think. They got married, but then they have been divorced since the book came out. The dad caught her with supplements again and made her go to AA meetings 4 times a week. But it was, at least there, she got inspired by some of the women there. That was the only good thing to come out of it. Even though she didn't have alcohol problems. She wasn't even allowed alcohol. Like, she talks about how if she had to go to or wanted to go to a party, they would have to, like, her security team would have to sweep the place, and they couldn't even have, like, Tylenol there, let alone alcohol. So her dad just forced her to go to AA meetings with no lenience, like, at all. Even though she didn't even have alcoholism problems. There was this one quote about creativity that, like, this might be my favorite quote in the whole book, just as, like, a general lesson for creative people. Not so much about just Britney, but I already, like, am thinking about this quote, like, trying to apply it to my creative life. But it's when she's in the conservatorship, she has this grueling schedule, and this hairstylist saw the schedule and was like, it's too much. And let me read the quote. She leaned in like she had a secret to tell me. Listen, she said. In order to be creative, you have to have room for play in your schedule. It helps ground you to have that time to yourself. Hell, to just stare at the wall if you want. People need that. And after that, like, the hairdresser got, like, was never seen again, like, by Britney, which is just so Hunger Games of the dad. Gross. But that's a really important note on creativity. If you're a creative person, you need some do-nothing time. You just do. No productivity. No nothing. Just live life and do something for purely fun. And if you recover enough from the do-nothing time, you'll get re-inspired again, I think. I loved that quote. I still think about it in my head. She does talk about the part, which is pretty famous, that she was, dating Hassam, and she wanted to try having a baby, but she had an IUD, and she asked to get it removed, and they denied it. She did later learn, too, that all her communications were bugged and, monitored, which sucks. So getting into maybe a better time, the Free Britney end of the conservatorship. She cites Reese Witherspoon as, an example or a role model to her of, a strong woman who also was, feminine and nice. Because Britney's very nice and kind, and people take advantage of that. But she saw Reese Witherspoon as this type of person that was nice and strong, kind and has boundaries. She was really trying to push for new things in her Vegas show, but always getting denied. She was famously really upset that there was this Radio Disney Award she got, an Icon Award, and these other artists performed remixes of her songs, and she had been asking for that, forever. So this is a Baby One More Time, and she's saving face, but she's mad in actuality. And Jamie Lynn comes out, she's talked about that, of she's upset. All these other people got to do remixes of her songs, and she's denied that privilege. But she's good at faking it. When the Vegas residency is about to end, and she's excited because, this residency has gone on forever. They don't allow her to change any one thing about it. She gets, taunted with her vacations. They're oh, we can't do your vacation this year. She gets 2 weeks off every year, and she was looking forward to it. But they were actually, you need to go on tour and continue doing Vegas. They were if you just do this tour, we'll let you have the whole summer off. Well, the tour didn't go as planned. She ended up with just 3 weeks off. And so that led to her refusing to announce, the Vegas residency continuing, a second round of Vegas, which was this kind of infamous moment where she is there to announce it and just walks through the crowd and signs autographs and then leaves. And she just refused to announce it. Also, in a rehearsal, she refused to do a dance move that just seemed too hard for her body at the time. And so they dug through her bag, found supplements, and sent her to rehab. And this one was clearly a big punishment from the dad, because they kept her there for months. It was kind of solitary confinement a lot of the time. They put her on lithium, which all the way from the beginning we talked about her grandma was put on lithium, and just treated like a fully insane person. That just sounded such a horrible time. And this is an interesting quote from that time. The hardest part was that I believed that in front of the doctors or visitors, I had to pretend the whole time that I was okay. If I became flustered, it was taken as evidence that I wasn't improving. If I got upset and asserted myself, I was out of control and crazy. It reminded me of what I'd always heard about the way they test to see if someone was a witch in the olden days. They'd throw the woman into a pond. If she floated, she was a witch and would be killed. If she sank, she was innocent. And, oh well, she was dead either way. But I guess they figured it was still good to know what kind of woman she'd been. That part was like the worst. Like it makes sense why it was such a breaking point, and luckily the Free Britney movement happened like right after this time because fans kind of caught wind of it. But it was actually a nurse while she was there that showed her fans of hers like protesting Free Britney, or not protesting but having rallies for Free Britney. And after she gets out of this place, like, her family just walks in like nothing happened. Jamie Lynn's like, let's make a sister talk show and shit like that. And she's just confused, still a little bit like messed up from the lithium. And also around that time, like a little after, her dad had a fight with her son, Sean Preston, and like hit him or shoved him, or there was some sort of altercation, and luckily Jamie Spears was banned from seeing her kids after that, which I think helped a little bit, like start forming a little bit of a case against him to not be the conservator anymore. So she became more active on social media to try to, like, I don't know, build her case a little more too, and hopefully be freed. But she did try to go to Louisiana after COVID hit, back to her family, and then when she was there realized, oh, I never want to see them again, which makes a lot of sense. They had thrown out a lot of her stuff too, and she was very hurt by that. And after that, she called 911 to report her dad for conservatorship abuse, and that set in motion the conservatorship ending, actually. And she talks about the documentaries. A lot of them were coming out around the time. The first one I remember is Framing Britney Spears. I made a video on my channel covering that back when it came out. But I was kind of surprised by this in the book, that she did not like or approve of the documentaries at all. Because I do feel like at least just the first one helped the case become very high profile, and it legitimized it. If you look at any materials from before this documentary came out, Free Britney is labeled as just a conspiracy theory, not really taken very serious. So I do think the documentaries helped, but she just doesn't like that people she knew were talking about her without letting her know that they would be talking about her. So that's just interesting. It's her perspective. She did not appreciate that. But she does appreciate the fans. She has like a special connection. Oh, I have the quote. The same way I believe I can sense how someone's feeling in Nebraska, I think my connection to my fans helped them subconsciously know that I was in danger. We have a connection, no matter where we are in space. Even if you're on the other side of the country or the world, on some level, we're bound up together. Fans of mine, even though I hadn't said anything online or in the press about being confined, they just seemed to know. We're all with you, Britney. Yeah, she does show appreciation for the Free Britney movement, the fans, and I think all of it kind of culminated in this court statement she gave. A lot of us heard that, where she like called for the end of it. She got to hire her own lawyer. First, her dad was removed as conservator. Then they were able to end the full conservatorship in, was it 2022 or 2021? Oh, COVID years are a blur. But yeah, the conservatorship ended. She did, oh, this is the statement, or just one of the many quotes from it. This conservatorship is doing me way more harm than good. I feel ganged up on. I feel bullied. I feel left out and alone. I'm tired of feeling alone. So after the conservatorship, she had like a dip in her toes into coming back with music, with Hold Me Closer with Elton John. She does mention, though, that she's not really trying to come back with new projects. I keep getting asked when I'm going to put on shows again. I confess that I'm struggling with that question. I'm enjoying dancing and singing the way I used to when I was younger, and not trying to do it for my family's benefit. Not trying to get something, but doing it for me and my genuine love of it. Listen, I would love a Britney album, but, like, she doesn't need to. Like, I fully think it's fine. It's fine. And I like that she acknowledged, it's on the same page, like her kind of weird presence on Instagram. I know that a lot of people don't understand why I love taking pictures of myself naked or in new dresses, but I think if they'd been photographed by other people thousands of times, prodded and posed for others' approval, they'd understand that I get a lot of joy from posing the way I feel sexy and taking my own picture, doing whatever I want with it. Yeah, like she just talks about how she's like kind of weird and gets inspired by like Instagram and social media. And that's part of what freedom is. And I see a lot of people criticize like her Instagram captions and posts, and I'm just like, I'm just glad she's here and doing whatever she feels like it. And I think this is a good quote to end this on. Sorry, this has been a long book club. Freedom means being goofy, silly, and having fun on social media. Freedom means taking a break from Instagram without people calling 911. Freedom means being able to make mistakes and learning from them. Freedom means that I don't have to perform for anyone, on stage or off stage. Freedom means that I get to be as beautifully imperfect as everyone else. And freedom means the ability and the right to search for joy in my own way, on my own terms. I think that's a really great quote to end it on, and just where she's at. I appreciate her social media presence. I like that it's just like, she's just your like fun auntie, doing whatever and trying on dresses and spinning. I don't know. I like that she addressed it and was like, please stop overthinking it and calling 911 and stuff about that. And that's the book. That's the book club. This is a long stream. If you want insight into how I make a video, this is that. Because, yeah, that's how long the footages are, and then I have to cut it down to something reasonable. But yeah, I hope y'all enjoyed, whether y'all stopped in live, I appreciate it, or watched on demand. It's been fun, and I hope this was nice and comprehensive. I appreciate y'all chiming in. yeah, that's the book club. I am working on a video about Vanderpump Rules. It's probably my longest video that I've ever made. It's long. It's over an hour. I mean, part of it is that other stream I did, so you can see why. But yeah, I'm working on that, and I'm getting there. I'm getting through it, but it's just taking a while to edit, and also I wanted to prep for Britney Book Club and other streams. But yeah, I really enjoyed the book. I feel like reading it twice helped me really absorb it. I'm interested to see if there's going to be any fictionalized adaptations of it. I'm sure it would slay, but also it needs Britney's approval. And I don't know how she feels about that. I think she has talked about maybe writing a sequel. I mean, definitely there's been developments since this book was written. She did separate from Hassam. So yeah, very interesting. But yeah, I think I've said a lot of my opinions. I've given y'all the quotes I liked from the book. If you didn't get to make it live, feel free to comment your thoughts in the comments below. I'm sure, depending on how much you follow her career, you know other things. You can fill in gaps of certain parts of her career, because it is a short book, not too long, like 250 pages. So, you know, it's pretty bird's eye view on her whole career, which is a lot happened. She did a lot in her career. So I appreciate y'all being here late into the night. I hope y'all have a good week. Definitely the stream helped my Monday not feel so, you know, Monday-y after holidays, which is always tough to come back to work. But yeah, don't forget to like this stream if you enjoyed. I'm going to be doing streams Mondays and Fridays from now on through December. Within reason. I mean, I'll let you know if I skip a day or anything. But for the most part, I'll be here Mondays and Fridays at 8 p.m. Next stream is going to be Friday night, and we're going to talk about the Golden Bachelor finale, which airs Thursday night. Make sure you catch up on the episode on Friday if you're a day after Hulu watcher. But yeah, I'm excited to see how that turns out. I have no idea where. I mean, I feel like I have an idea, but I'm also like, they could be tricking us with the editing. So that's up next. Please like the stream, subscribe to my channel, and you can follow me at Miscellaneous to find out about upcoming live streams and topics. Right now, I just have topics through next Monday. I'll probably sometime this week put out a schedule for like more topics, more streams in December. But yeah, hope y'all had nice holidays if you're in the U.S. And I'll catch you in the next one. Bye.